The balance of power has dramatically swung. Hey everyone, Templar74 here with another video, and today's video is going to be my review on the latest episode of Sword Art Online, Alicization War of the Underworld, Episode 3, The Final Load Test. And I gotta be honest with you guys, this episode was a very dramatic episode. It was a very suspenseful episode. It had me on the edge of my seat for most of the episode, and I really enjoyed just how high the stakes are in Alicization War of the Underworld, which this episode reminded us of. It was just a great episode all the way around, but we'll talk about all of that soon enough, so at risk of further rambling, let's talk about the actual episode. So the episode begins with our gunmen who attacked Ocean Turtle, and we learn a little bit more about them. We learn that the gunmen who attacked Ocean Turtle are led by Mr. Miller of Glaugen Defense Systems, and we learn that he was hired by none other than the United States NSA, and their objective is to get Alice and seize it for the US before Japan can upset the balance of power in Asia. Basically, the United States found out about the existence of Alice and the plan to marry this new artificial intelligence to weapon systems, and if Japan pulls this off, they will be able to become the military dominant force in Asia. The United States doesn't want that to happen. They want to remain the military superpower in Asia, and to do that, they want to keep Japan under their thumb by basically saying, oh, no, you're not going to do this, but we certainly are. And to do that, they want to hire Mr. Miller and Glaugen, because if the U.S. goes in and tries to attack Ocean Turtle and seize Alice, it will be seen as a declaration of war, and they don't want to do that to an ally in the Pacific. However, they do want Alice, and they do want to stop Japan. So they hired Mr. Miller. And so, yeah, Mr. Miller is going to go in and do this for them. However, he must remember he's not affiliated with the U.S., but the U.S. does do one other thing for him. They basically use their back channels to the Japan Self-Defense Force, who's not the monolith everybody thinks it is, and basically convince the Japan Self-Defense Force to back down and not attack Ocean Turtle for 24 hours while Mr. Miller's attacking. So basically, he's going to go in here. He's not going to be interrupted by Japanese forces for 24 hours. He's got 24 hours to go in, get Alice, and get out. However, when they get into Ocean Turtle and they seize the main control room, much to their frustration, Mr. Miller and the others discover that they've been locked out of the system, and there's no way to get Alice's light cube out of the cluster, because if they try to go in and blow the door open to the light cube cluster, they have no way of knowing which one is Alice's, and they risk collateral damage. They can't really attack the sub-control room and get up there because there are Japanese Self-Defense Force soldiers already here, and they're going to protect the control room. So there's really not a good way to get up to subcon. So as they're going through trying to figure out how they're going to do this, finally it dawns on them, why don't we just dive into the Underworld and get Alice in there and bring her out? And this is a great plan. However, as they go through and dig through the system, all of the super accounts that Wrath created to monitor and observe the Underworld have all been locked by Higa. There's no way to get in there, and as they're digging, however, they find the super accounts for the Dark Territory, which were left unlocked by Higa, which I'm sure he's regretting because he even looks like, uh-oh, I forgot to do something a little bit later on in the episode. But these Dark Territory super accounts nonetheless are left open, and as they're digging through them, they find two accounts. They find a Dark Knight account and a very suspicious and very ominous account, which really has no info. It has no level, no authority level. It just has a name of Dark Emperor Vector. So Emperor Vector and a Dark Knight, that's essentially these accounts that they're going to use. Mr. Miller and his brother are going to go in as these two into the Underworld, and ultimately they're going to unleash the final load test. They're going to go into the human empire from the Dark Territory and seize Alice, and that's the plan for them. However, back up in Subcon with Asuna and the others, Asuna finally has made her decision that she's going to dive into the Underworld because she needs to go in and rescue Kirito. And basically everybody's like, you know what, she's right. She's the only one that can do this, because not only do we need somebody to go in and try to get Kirito back to health and recover his consciousness, which has been deactivated, we also need somebody that has experience in the virtual reality world in combat, because Asuna's mission is not only going to be to get Kirito's conscience reactivated, her goal is going to go in to find Alice, protect her, and bring her to the New World Altar to where they can eject her light cube and bring it up to Subcon before these invaders from the US come in and take it. So Alice is ultimately the goal here, and Asuna's goal when she dives in is going to be twofold: rescue Kirito and protect and save Alice and get her out of the underworld. So that's Asuna's mission, and before Asuna does this, however, she does message the group one more time and tell the group, hey, I'm going to dive into the underworld and save Kirito. I'll be fine, don't worry, I'll come back for him. And she sends that message and goes off. However, before Asuna dives in, Yui reaches out to the whole group, and as she's reaching out to the whole group, we go back to Sinon, who's having kind of a nightmare flashback, I guess you could call it, back to Mr. Miller here, because we learned that Mr. Miller and his goons were the ones they were fighting in Gun Gale Online in the first episode here, and Mr. Miller basically sneaks up on Sinon and basically does something really creepy. He basically reiterates the same thing he says about Alice of, oh, your soul is so sweet, and Sinon snaps out of this, and Yui summons everybody to ALO to ultimately tell him what's going on. And as this is going on and Yui's explaining this to the gang, everybody's like, well, wait, isn't there something we can do? We can get out to Ocean Turtle and do something. But ultimately, it's decided that they're not going to do anything for now, but Yui tells them, your power is going to be needed later on. So ultimately, Yui is preparing them for, hey, we can't do anything right now, but you guys are going to have to go into the underworld and help fight this war. So everybody's well aware of what's going on here as Asuna gets ready to make the big dive. And we see that Mr. Miller and his brother have already made this big dive, and they are already in the underworld as a Dark Knight and the blank super account Emperor Vector. And as we get into the closing part of the episode, we get introduced to a couple of more characters here. A couple of Dark Knights within the Dark Territory forces. We get introduced to Dark Knight Lepia Lancal and Dark Knight Commander Shasta. And we learn that Dark Knight Commander Shasta had no idea that Queenella was killed until his Dark Knight comes and relays this information. And we realize just how big the stakes are here as we go into the final load test, which is ultimately the big echo chamber of the episode. Basically, we learn that Shasta wants peace with the human empire. He doesn't want a war because he feels that a war with the human empire is unwinnable for the Dark Territory. He wants peace. And now that Queenella is dead, this could be the best chance he has, because that means that now by default, Knight Commander Broccoli is essentially in charge of the human empire, and he feels that he can reason with the Integrity Knight Commander. He can achieve peace through negotiation with him. But there's something ultimately standing in Shasta's way, and that, of course, is the ruling council of the Dark Territory right now, and that is the Council of 10. These are the people that are in charge of the Dark Territory, and basically Shasta launches a plan for a coup within the Dark Territory. In order to achieve peace with the human empire, he is going to set out and kill 4 people in the Council of 10, the Chief Orc, the 2 Goblin Chiefs, and a new character, the Chancellor of the Dark Mages Guild, and we learn that she is just as powerful as Queenella in the effect that she has mastered Queenella's secrets of immortality, so she's a very powerful character here, and ultimately Shasta has to kill these 4 in order to negotiate peace with the human empire and Knight Commander Broccoli. So that's where the episode leaves off, but not before Shasta reaches out to Dark Knight Lepia and proposes a marriage to her, which ultimately adds a little bit of romanticism to the episode as well. But that's not exactly where the episode ends, because as these two are talking and their proposal is made and their plan is set in place, we learn that the throne room of the Dark Territory, the chains on the door are being broken, and as the chains break, the doors open and reveal Emperor Vector and his Dark Knight here, Mr. Miller and his brother, and that's where the episode leaves off. So yeah, this episode was just a dark episode. It was a suspenseful episode, and I really love, again, how the stakes in Alicization War of the Underworld are being reiterated here. It literally is not just a war in the Underworld, it is a war in the real world as well, because, I mean, you have a coup within the Dark Territory, you have a war about ready to set off between the Dark Territory and the Human Empire. In the real world, you have the United States launching a high-risk game and possibly starting a war with Japan by attacking Ocean Turtle. It's just a really really deep episode, and the power struggle in this episode was great. It's great that we're finally going to get to see Asuna dive in as Stacia, and we know what Asuna's objective is going to be once she gets in there as Stacia, and that is her mission is going to be to recover Kirito's consciousness and get him to recover by telling him, you know what, you failed, it's okay, you did your best. But also her mission is to find Alice, protect her, and get her to the World's End altar so they can eject her from the Light Cube cluster and bring her to the real world before the US NSA can. So yeah, it was just a really powerful episode. There was a lot going on and a lot of buildup here for the war that's about ready to start and about ready to boil over any day as soon as the East Gate falls and the Dark Territory marches into the Human Empire. And now that Mr. Miller and his brother are in charge of the Dark Territory, things are going to get very interesting and very heated really quickly, and it's a good thing Stacia is coming to the rescue. What else can I say to that? Overall, though, I really enjoyed the episode. Like I said, I give this episode a 9 out of 10. It was a great episode. It was a suspenseful episode. It had me on the edge of my seat. But as always, in the comments section down below, let me know what your guys' thoughts were about this week's episode. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was just there? What are your thoughts? Just let me know in the comments section down below, because as always, I enjoy hearing from you. Alright everyone, as always, Templar74 signing off. Have a great day everybody, and I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye everybody.